but I've been told that if you turn it off and you have the old style lighting, which is this, versus the smooth lighting, which is this with the shadows and stuff. Turning smooth lighting off will help with performance because your game doesn't have to render out all the shadows and whatnot. I keep smooth lighting on because it looks better, and my computer can fortunately run it with it on, but you can turn smooth lighting off, and that'll help with performance. I don't think brightness has any real factor in performance issues. I wouldn't think so. If it does, you can always turn it down to moody, and essentially the game doesn't really bother with brightness. So that's always an option, I suppose. Particles is a new option that just came in. Particles and clouds were both new options that came in with the official release update to Minecraft. Particles is these sorts of things that the game renders out here: smoke from the torches, nether portals, the little purplish sort of particles that come off nether portals, and what else? I think rain is even a factor, possibly, or snow, that sort of thing. But if you go to the setting for particles, now see, I have mine set to decreased, which is the step below the full particle effect. If you go down to minimal, they're basically not there anymore. See, I'll show you on these torches. You'll notice the torches no longer flame up. There's no smoke, nothing like that. The game's not rendering that out. So that's one big thing you could do, is to turn the particles off, and you won't get that anymore, and the game doesn't have to render out all the smoke and stuff for each of these torches, and that'll save on performance. And it's one of those things where particle effects don't really matter in the game. I mean, it's nice to have them if you can afford them, but if you can't afford them, don't worry about it. Just take them off. It doesn't add enough to the game to even worry about. I don't know if the game is affected in terms of rain or snow with this. You'll still be able to hear it raining outside, even if it would happen to take the raining visuals out. I don't know. Maybe it leaves the falling rain in, and then when it hits the ground, you don't see the splashing anymore or something. But in any event, for that sort of thing, you can always get a texture pack. I mean, for Painterly, I have it set to where it has a light snow versus a heavy snow, and I have the clouds set to a lighter thing in Painterly versus the full clouds that are usually in. And that's another reason that I keep clouds in, is because my Painterly texture pack minimizes them already, so I don't necessarily have to turn them off, and it minimizes the rain effects and the snow effects, so I don't really worry too much about that. But I did go ahead and this is particles all, this will have the full effect. I did put it down to decrease just to kind of, again, sort of curb the extra performance issues without taking away from the look of having the flaming torches and all that, the nether portals with their particles and stuff. It's still there, it's just a bit less than it used to be. And it's really not noticeable. If I didn't mention anything about it, I don't think anybody watching my series would even really notice. So it's one of those performance tweaks that you can make that's not gonna bother you in the slightest when you're playing the game, or if you're having other people watch you play the game, that sort of thing. Either way, but those are just some of the things you can do in the game to make it better for you. One last option you can do in the game, and this is going to depend on your play style and that sort of thing. If you don't particularly care for the enemy mobs in the game, if you switch it to peaceful, you're not going to have enemy mobs spawn at all, and that'll help a lot with performance issues when you're caving, or if you're out at night, that sort of thing, because the game doesn't have to render out or take care of any of the mobs the enemy mobs for you. Now there'll still be animal mobs out there, but again, if you're into just maybe you're just building a farm or something inside your home and you're not going to be outside or you're not going to be in a cave or something like that, switch your game to peaceful. It'll stop enemy mobs from spawning. It'll despawn enemy mobs that may be already in the game, and that'll be a very decent performance boost. A lot of Minecraft multiplayer servers just keep enemy mobs off because it helps so much with the lag and stuff there. That's more of an internet connection thing, but even in a regular single player game, having the enemy mobs off will help with performance. But again, it's one of those situations where if you want to fight enemy mobs, like when you're caving or you're outside in the middle of the night or whatever, keep them on. Keep one of the difficulties on, easy, normal, hard, whatever. And then if you're inside your home and you're not going to ever have the realistic possibility of facing an enemy mob the entire time, because like I said, you're building interior designs or farms or whatever the case may be, switch it to peaceful because you're not going to be fighting the enemy mobs anyway, and you'll see a performance boost. That's one thing that a lot of people playing Minecraft I think forget, is that they'll set their difficulty on one of these other ones and they'll just leave it there, and even though they may not be anywhere near an enemy for, you know, who knows how long. If you turn it to peaceful, then you're not going to get that issue of the computer needlessly sucking performance into putting in enemy mobs that you're not going to have any point in being around. So I tend to leave mine just on whatever difficulty setting I need, usually normal, or in this case hard for this series. But I just tend to leave it on there because I don't necessarily make a lot of plans on what I'm going to do. One minute I may be inside, the next minute I may just decide to go caving and stuff. So if I would leave it on peaceful, I'd go into a cave and I'd forget that it was set to peaceful and wonder why there was no enemies around. I mean, I've done that before. Just a few videos ago in a different section in a different series I did that. So I tend to leave it there, but again, I don't have a lot of performance issues, especially after doing the sort of things that I did before with the curbing of like the render distance here and particles going down here, things that you don't really even bother to notice. And I mean, clouds would be another setting here. I could easily turn clouds off because I don't really pay attention to them most of the time. The only reason I keep them in is because I'm making videos and other people are watching, and it may be fun and atmospheric for them to leave it in. Also, when it rains, it just kind of makes sense to have clouds on, because rain just falling out of the sky, I mean, it happens because clouds don't necessarily follow the rain when it rains, but just to have them completely off and then end up having it rain or snow, it just looks weird. But it is a performance issue that you can turn off if you're not paying attention, or if you're inside most of the time. I mean, if you're underground, you know, 50% or more of the time you're playing this game, or you're inside most of the time you're playing this game, turn the clouds off. It's not going to matter. You're not going to see them, and your game doesn't have to render them out, because even if you're inside, like I'm inside the cave right here, the game's still rendering out the caves on top, the clouds on top. So you know, there is a performance issue there, but I'm just going to leave it on for me. But hopefully that gives those of you who are having performance issues with Minecraft something to think about and to look into. You can make a lot of performance tweaks for this game to make it run a little better for you. Another thing I would suggest, and this is one of those things you have to do outside the game, but if you have a 64-bit Windows operating system, for me that was Vista, but for you it may be Windows 7 or whatever, make sure you get the Java 64-bit version. You'll just have to search that up in Google and stuff. It'll take a little bit of effort to get that in, but I noticed a lot of performance was fixed just by getting the 64-bit 64-bit Java, because the game and pretty much every computer out there has 32-bit Java by default, and 64-bit operating systems for whatever reason, seem to run Minecraft better on a 64-bit Java. So that's one thing you might want to look into as well if you have a 64-bit operating system, is to get the 64-bit Java version. And like I said, you'll have to Google that up. I'm not really sure on all the details of that. It took me quite a bit to get that going, but I managed to do that, and I've had a lot more success with performance. I mean, my game used to crash like all the time. Every few, like 10 or 15 minutes, it would crash before I got the Java 64-bit for my 64-bit operating system. Mine's Vista, but I think the same issue occurs even if you have like Windows 7, so just keep that in mind. But I think I'm going to end this set of videos here. Thanks for watching, boys and girls. I am the Good Old Gamer. We've been playing more of Minecraft, the official release, and next time we're going to use all of the, well, not all of the iron, but we're going to use a good bit of the iron we just got to craft us some armor, some shears, and maybe some tools, and then we'll spend the next set of videos up on the surface cutting down trees, gathering wool from sheep, and getting various other resources. We'll probably explore the land a bit more, the island and that sort of thing, the place we're on, get more bearing on our surroundings, that sort of thing, especially after all of the caving and exploring we did in this set of videos. So we'll check that stuff out later, but I am the Good Old Gamer, and as always, bye for now.